All right, we're live. Should be live on Facebook now. I
All
gotta
right.
check this. Yep. Awesome. Cool. All right, we got about a minute. Let me see here how many people are in the. Great, there's people starting to join in Zoom. We're gonna get started here in a minute, folks. Thanks for joining us on Zoom. Most people join us on Facebook, but the people who are able to join us on Zoom can be a little bit more directly involved and ask questions a little bit more easily than on
Oh,
Facebook. Uh, Appreciate you all being here. Uh, okay, just taking care of the last few things. Okay, it's 11 o'clock. We're going to get started here. Uh, my name is Ben Wright. I'm sure a handful of people are tuning in to know that. I play with the Henhouse Prowlers, and we have a nonprofit organization called Bluegrass Ambassadors. Kind of is a global music centered nonprofit that brings music education to kids who can't afford it. And right now, we're stuck at home like everybody else. And this is kind of what we're trying to do to fill that time and continue doing our work. If you want to support what we're doing, help us pay artists like this one sitting right in front of you here and pay for the production value and all that stuff. Check out our Patreon where we're putting up extra content after they're done. I'm putting up last week's guest, Fareed Haq, an incredible jazz guitar player. He made a really great list of songs that kids should listen to if they want to get into jazz. And that'll go up today. And so check out patreon.com/bluegrass ambassadors. You can also just donate directly to us at paypal.me/bluegrass ambassadors. We really appreciate it. I am so thrilled to introduce all of you to this incredible musician sitting across the screen from me here. I've been listening to her for several years. When I first heard her was with Chris Jones, but now she has her own band, the Gina Furtado Project, and I've been obsessing over her most recent album all week. So please welcome Miss Gina Furtado on the banjo.
thank you, Ben.
Yay! Hey, can you start by just playing a tune? Maybe introduce the tune and play a little bit for
Sure.
us.
Let's see. Maybe I'll start with just something kind of traditional.
Cool.
I'm gonna try. How about Cold Frosty Morning? It's one of my favorites.
Great.
So.
Nice. Isn't it funny? It's like I have this instinct to clap because we're so used to having that kind of feedback, and none of that's actually able to happen here. So it's like I want
I know. I know
to.
it's so strange. Yeah, doing the live performance where I guess people are here, but
They
hi
are.
everyone.
uh, Folks, if you want to ask Gina any questions and you're on Zoom, you can do it in the Q&A section on the bottom of the app. It's pretty easy to do. Please feel free to do that. And if you're on Facebook, make a comment with questions. Some of the other Henhouse Prowlers are keeping an eye on that. We'll get to those a little later.
They're
So
the Facebook prowlers.
that's right. That's right. That sounds a little creepy.
Yeah.
So Gina, can you, for people that haven't heard you before, can you give us kind of a abridged view of how you came to the banjo and how you got to where you are today, fronting your own band?
Sure. Well, it started at the Galax Fiddlers Convention, where my family decided to go. It was something my uncle had talked about going to. He's a fiddle player, and he talked about going to Galax Fiddlers Convention for years, and then we decided to go. And I was around 11, I guess, and bought a banjo there for $40. And my parents told me if I couldn't play it well enough to compete in the contest the following year, I had to reimburse them for the money. So, you know, so the rest is history. So I started playing, around 11 or 12, and, just kind of played all throughout my teen years. We had a family band, and then, as you get older, just played in various bands here and there.
What was the family band called?
Must you ask? It was called the
Yes.
Puny Pickers.
That's great.
Yeah, the Puny Pickers. So we toured around quite a bit, around the East Coast. I lived in Virginia, so, we toured around up and down the East Coast and got some good gigging experience and a lot of practice, playing in that context on stage. And yeah, I just kind of kept on playing with like regional local bands, nothing serious until I guess whenever I joined the Chris Jones and the Night Drivers about 5-6 years ago. I was just ready to play something a little more serious and more professional, so I contacted a few people I hardly knew. It was very awkward, but I was like, just want to play in a band. Like, hey, I opened for you one time. Like, would you like spread the word that I'm looking for a band? And so, yeah, it was just perfect timing for when Ned Luberecki was leaving the Night Drivers, and they asked me to join their band, and I played with them until this past September. And since then, I've been fronting my own band called the Gina Furtado Project.
And that band, you were doing that band on top of playing with Chris Jones for a little while, right?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, for about, I guess it was about 2 years, really. I started when I put out my first album back in 2017. So that's when I started gigging here and there. Yeah, we stayed pretty busy, but I couldn't fit in all the gigs I wanted to while still playing with Chris.
Yeah. How did you, I mean, you have 3 kids, right?
Yes, I do.
And how old are they?
They are, well, my oldest son, Jonah, is going to be 11, and I think he counted the days 9 days. So he's almost 11.
Cool.
And so 11, 8, Max is 8, and 6. My youngest is 6, Iris.
And so how did you reconcile that when you joined Chris Jones's band? Like, how many dates a year were the Night Drivers playing?
They're not super busy. I mean, it was like everybody has another, Chris does a lot of radio work. So it was nobody's full-time livelihood. And we did, we were gone maybe like two long weekends a month, maybe 3 long weekends a month. Occasionally we would go for maybe like twice a year, we'd do like a week or more kind of tour. But people ask me that all the time, and really it was like pretty ideal because when I wasn't on the road with them, I was just home.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it is now too. Like when I'm home, I'm like very much available and can spend more time with my kids than if I worked like a regular 9 to 5 job.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
I want to play folks one of my favorite tracks off your most recent album. Your previous album's excellent too.
Thank you.
And I'll make sure to link to all these things when we post about it and stuff. But I'm gonna try to share this video right now because Zoom lets you do that. I'm gonna set it up correctly here. So we'll play this, and I have a couple questions about this tune.
Okay.
So let's see here. Are you seeing the video?
Yes, I am.
All right, great. So let me find it here and play it. Uh, there it is.
I'm not hearing anything.
No, you don't hear it?
No.
That's a bummer. Maybe. Hold on. Let me see if can folks on the Zoom hear this when I play it. Frustrating. Someone's responding here.
Yeah. Nope.
Nope. Nope. Nope.
Well,
Let
here's
me,
our answer.
I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna try it one more time here. All right. Share computer sound. Optimize. See? Do you see it again?
I see it. Yes.
Can you hear it? Are you hearing it?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay. So,
Sad trombones. Well, that's the song. It's sad trombones. No.
I'm glad people have a sense of humor about it.
Yeah.
We were talking right before this went live about how grateful we are that people are understanding that there are technical issues with this stuff. It's a learning process for all of us. All right, I think I got it. Let's try it now. Give me a thumbs up if you hear it.
Nada.
Ah, all right. Well, let's move on, and I'll figure something else out. So actually, I was going to ask you about another tune on here, "The Princess and the Pea."
Okay.
I love that tune. I'm not going to put you on the spot to play it unless you're prepared.
Oh, I haven't played that since we recorded.
I know how that is. Well, I love that tune. I think folks should go listen to it. It's got this cool Eastern European flair to it, but also does some grassy stuff. It's pretty cool. Where did that come from?
I love Eastern European style music. I can't say I like, I'm not super knowledgeable, but I just love the sounds. So, yeah, I guess it just kind of cropped up out of nowhere.
Huh.
Um,
It's
yeah,
it's
I,
a
I like that dark kind of like eerie, dark sound. So, and then I let my daughter name it. This is like, I guess she was around 3 when I wrote it, and she just kept coming in the room. I'm trying to write this tune, and I said, like, I will let you name this tune if you leave me alone for another 20 minutes so I can finish it. And he said, "The Princess and the Pea."
yeah. I was drawn to the title. You can tell her this because
Oh,
that's like one of my favorite children's stories.
oh,
For
nice.
whatever reason, it always stuck to
Yeah.
me. So it was one of the first tunes I listened to, and then I actually really liked it too. So
Oh, she'll be very honored. She's very proud of that title.
it's a great name. I expected you to give me some kind of like historical thing that I didn't know about how it came from that part of the world or something. But
No,
your
yeah. Most of
story's
my
even better.
tunes, like I put a lot of thought into the name. And that one I was just like, you name it. You name it if you just leave me alone for 20 minutes.
So can play us one of your compositions.
Sure.
Yeah, please.
I'm gonna play you one. This is from the first album, which is called True Colors, and it kind of has like a classical feel to it, and it's called The Wayward Kite. It goes like this. I'll see if I can get through it. It's been a while.
That's beautiful. Where did the name come from?
So that one does have a story to it. That one, well, I just went out in my backyard and I saw my kid's kite from like months ago, that had flown away and gotten lost. I saw it just dangling in a tree and it was like shredded and it was still all brightly colored, but it was just way up in the tree, shredded and just kind of waving in the breeze. And um, I've discovered that, when you find something that's like a very unique feeling, that's like a really good thing to try to play or try to write a tune about, or take that feeling and try to make a tune that represents that feeling, because then it makes it like a kind of interesting tune. So that's one of the things. Like, I just saw the kite and it was like kind of sad but kind of like sweet, like, oh, they were flying a kite, which there's only one reason to do that, which is that it's like just joy.
Yeah.
So, so yeah, it just had a unique feeling when I saw that kite, and I decided to try to write a tune that held that same kind of feeling to it.
Yeah, the intro that you go back to towards the end is almost playful, like it's
Like a kite. I was trying to make it.
yeah, that's really cool. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
thank you.
Yeah. Do you perform that on stage with your band?
No, when I recorded it, I would like to, but when I recorded it, it was with a cello player, and I don't have a cello in the band, but yeah, we'll work it up one of these days. Probably just my sister and I. Malia plays fiddle, and she could nail that one. We just haven't gotten around to it yet.
Yeah. Tell folks that are listening about the lineup of your band and who all's in it.
Sure. Like I just said, my sister Malia Furtado plays fiddle, and she's excellent. She lives in Stanton, Virginia, just bought a house there. And then Drew Matalich lives in Asheville, North Carolina, and he's just outstanding guitar player and songwriter. Man, he's amazing. And he also plays mandolin, so on our upcoming songs that will be released, he's doing a little mandolin work. And then until recently, we'd had Max Johnson from New York City playing bass, and he's great. But everybody has different projects going on, and he was so busy, and we had things. So anyway, we have a new member, which I'm super excited about, which is my sister Lulu Furtado. So there's 3 of us sisters on stage. And she's great. She lives down in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. So it kind of worked out, logistically it works out nicely too. She lives near Drew.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she plays bass, and she's going to do some, singing, and yeah.
So what's the transition been like, going from being a great banjo player in a firmly established band, that'd be Chris Jones's band, for I mean, he's been around for a while.
Yeah, the band is like over 20, it's like 25 years old band.
Right. And he's been playing, he also played with Special Consensus back in the day. Like, he's been on the scene forever.
Right.
And then to start your own band and jump into it full bore, which you did. I ran into you at IBMA last year, and you were on a mission. Like, you were doing your thing and getting the word out and working it. And yeah. I'm curious about the transition between those two lives, essentially.
Well, it is so much work starting a band, as you know, Ben. But I just really wanted to play the songs that I wrote, because songwriting is very, very important to me. I feel like it's part of my identity as a musician. So, that said, playing with Chris, it's so much simpler. He gives me the dates. I get on the plane that he tells me to get on, show up when I'm told to show up, and I play. And, even on stage, it's just so much easier because I'm just kind of tuned out doing my thing. Don't have to worry about any of the, the front man duties. So it is so much harder than like anyone would imagine. I'm stunned, and I'm still doing my own booking and building my own website. But it's an amazing learning experience. I feel like just in the several months that this has been on the front burner, I've just learned so much and made so many great contacts through booking, and Yeah, I kind of like, I just like having a huge challenge in my life at all times. So it's like if things get too easy, I had to make it hard. So yeah, it's challenging, but it's fun too. It's
Yeah,
rewarding.
yeah, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
It's been cool to follow that transition. You did it very tastefully, and it was just cool. Like I have a lot of respect for Chris. I know he has a lot of respect for you. You also put that out there, and I think that's important in this industry, especially bluegrass. If whatever we call the music we play, like there are lots of changes and transitions, and they happen,
Yeah,
and I think it's important for them to be as peaceful and loving as possible so we can
for sure.
focus on the music,
Right. And I mean, Chris is amazing. I've been able to call on him when I have questions about, how to run a band. I've called him and talked to him about it, talked to Greg Cahill. We're so lucky in this industry to have these people that have, I'm such a newbie to it in so many ways. And to be able to ask advice from, people that have so much experience. And yeah, Chris is wonderful. And
Yeah.
so, yeah.
How did you have to like figure out what you were gonna like addressing audiences and talking on stage and all that stuff? Was that a big
Oh yeah.
transition?
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, I started that like several years ago. Like I just knew like I've got to learn how to do this sometime. So it was like totally awkward on stage and I'm like, it's okay. Like this is how you learn. So
Yeah.
I just like, I kind of braced myself to be super awkward and clumsy on stage. And I did it and now I think I've gotten a lot better. So,
That's cool.
yeah.
So can you were talking about songwriting. Is there a way for you to share with us one of the tunes you've written with lyrics?
Sure. Yeah, I've got a guitar right next to me.
Cool.
Oh. This is a brand new baby guitar. It was finished not even a week ago.
Really? Who made it?
My boyfriend Ben Walters built it.
Really?
So yeah, so it's brand spanking new, and I'm enjoying it for sure.
Awesome.
So I was thinking of doing one from my more recent album. I hope you have a good life, and this one's called "I Knew What to Do." And actually, one of the reasons I thought about doing this one was because it's kind of perfect for this time of crisis, in that it's all about like bad things happen, and guess what? You move on, and everything is always fine. So,
That's great.
so this one's called "I Knew What to Do." I saw it in the summer sky. I watched the sun down its golden head. And softly in the story of his pride and all of his glory to the moon was bright and dignified, and when we sang her praise, she cast it aside. So all I could see was you. So when your heart stopped yearning for mine, and I knew that we'd run out of time. Believe me, I've never felt so blue, but I knew what to do. I heard it in the autumn breeze, a voice of wisdom, not without regret, saying what can be wrong with October. There is beauty in life that is out on a field of glistening snow, so bittersweet when mud began to show. The world held unshakable faith that it was only a matter of days. so blue, but I knew what to do.
Yay!
Yep.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Uh, can you share any of your uh, like what when you write a song, kind of what the process is for you? It seems to me that it's different for everybody. I'd love to hear your
Yeah.
take.
Yeah, it's very different. Yeah, when I write, I would say most often, and it changes kind of song to song, but most often, um, similarly to when I write a tune, I'll kind of like stumble on a feeling that feels different to me. And I think of songs as like, a way to, um, like allow a way to share your experience of the world with someone else so they get to feel what you're feeling, so it's an emotional experience, right? So I'll come across a feeling that I like and then just like blurt out like a few random words, and that usually just leads to the tune, whatever it might be. I don't usually think of like a topic and write about it that way.
Hmm.
I'll come up with like a few words and then everything else just kind of is born from whatever words first come to me about whatever I'm feeling.
That's cool.
So yeah.
Huh. And how do you write them in one sitting? Do you take months to write them? Like, what's the?
I sometimes take months to write them.
Yeah.
Not one sitting. A lot of times I'll write, I'll get like a good solid chorus and a verse. And then it'll kind of sit for maybe a week or two, and then the other verses will come.
Hmm. Uh, are your do you for the two albums of yours that I've listened to? Uh, did you have producers on those albums?
No, I just kind of did it myself.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
I really enjoyed doing it that way because I had, I already, when we went to the studio, I knew every detail of what kind of arrangements I wanted to do. And um, yeah, I kind of like had micromanaged in my head everything I wanted to happen. That said, we recently, like in the past couple of months, went and recorded 3 new singles that'll be out in the next, over the summer. And we had a producer for that, Tom Utes. And even though like I kind of knew like arrangement wise what I wanted to do, it was really nice just having someone to just kind of be, keep us on track and keep the quality control when you get really tired after a full day in the studio, you know. So yeah, like with doing those albums, I felt like no, I never want a producer. I'm fine without it. But then having had one, I can see why, how it makes it a lot easier and
yeah.
sounds better ultimately.
Well, those albums are spectacular. I'm surprised to hear you say you didn't have a producer. So,
Thank you.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Let's change the subject just a little bit here. I kind of want to hear how you're faring and your family is faring with what's going on here in the across the planet. It's
Yeah. Well, I mean, of course, like the crisis for us is the loss of a large part of my income, and it's a single income family for me. I have my 3 kids. They live half the time at their dad's, half at my house. But I am the only one bringing money to this house, and losing all the gigs is like a huge part of my income. So I mean that's stressful. But I do have like enough kind of Skype students to keep things, I think, afloat. We'll see.
mhm.
So I mean that's like the first thing. Of course that's stressful. As far as like the kids are out of school for the rest of the year here in Virginia, and they really miss their friends, which is sad. That's the hardest part for me is seeing them like really missing their friends,
Yeah.
and they can't really play with anyone. They've shut down the playgrounds here. They've shut down the basketball courts, everything. Um, but we're staying really busy, just doing lots of very socially distant outdoor stuff. We've gone on a ton of hikes and bike rides and things like that, and it's been super fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even like homeschooling, we've had a lot of fun just kind of, I don't know, I'm kind of a believer in kids just learning by doing stuff. So I've just kept them busy around the house, helping with chores, have them read, for an hour every day and just keep it super simple. And I feel like it's been really fun. It's been
Yeah.
nice to bond with them more.
I saw you posted a picture on Facebook a week ago of a whiteboard with your schedule for the kids on it.
Right back there.
Uh, can you can I don't know if we'll be able to see it or not. I thought it was kind of darling, like you had the day fractioned out with there was time for cookies even like
Oh yeah, we baked cookies. We baked lots of cookies.
that's
Well, it's
cool.
sure. I'll try to show you. I don't know if you can see it.
There we go.
Yeah. So,
Mom in
so
interview. That's
yeah.
great.
Leave me alone.
That's great. If I may, how have you been emotionally through all this?
I've been feeling great. I mean, I love being out in nature, and I have had so much fun just being out, going on these super long hikes, and like not being able to work is has its downsides for obvious reasons, but it has its upsides for not having to work. So, I mean, I've been just spending a ton of time down at my boyfriend lives in Harper's Ferry, so I just socially isolate out there and just Harper's Ferry, West Virginia is gorgeous. There's
Mm,
tons of hiking trails and two rivers to explore and um, yeah, so I've been doing totally fine.
that's great. Uh,
Yeah.
I definitely want to remind folks that you are giving Skype lessons
Yeah,
and you are steeped in teaching. Like that has always been a big part of your life.
yeah,
And
for
so
sure.
if you want to learn how to play the banjo or get better at it, here's your person right here. What's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Probably they can go to my website, which is ginafurtadobanjo.com, and all the contact info is there. They can send me a message there or email or, you know. So
Okay,
yeah, for sure. I can always fit more people in. So
cool. And your music is easily streamed from all the streaming places, but you can also buy your CDs off your website too, right?
yep,
That's cool.
yep,
Like musician to musician here, we both know that it's always better if you can afford to buy the CDs directly off the artists,
yes, for
because
sure.
we actually see money from
Right.
that.
We don't really see any money from the other sources, but it's
No.
still helpful to follow artists on the streaming
Yeah,
platforms and
yeah. It's an interesting time. I heard I went to Nashville for Leadership Bluegrass a month ago, and
oh cool.
they were talking about that a lot and how it's a necessary thing for us to be pushing our streaming music out there, even though we don't make any money off of it.
Yeah,
It's this weird juxtaposition. It's just like uh, encourage people to buy CDs at your shows, but make sure they know exactly where to stream your music.
right.
This is the world we live in.
Yeah.
Uh,
I'm not entirely clear on it, but I know it's helpful. I mean, just to have like a large following on those streaming platforms looks good to venues and
yeah,
we'll put your music out on playlists and stuff like that. So,
yeah,
yeah, pretty much any interaction is helpful for the artists.
yeah. Can you share a little bit about some of your influences on the banjo? I already before we arranged this, I already was a fan of your playing, but now that I've really dived deeply into it, there's a ton of stuff you're doing that isn't Scruggs style, that isn't three finger style. It's like you've got your own sound, and I how much thought have you put into where that's come from? I guess.
Um, well, I'm a huge fan of Earl Scruggs, and I definitely started with straight up Scruggs style playing, taking lessons with Murphy Henry, who's like
Ah,
very, very Earl Scruggs oriented, which is an awesome, awesome foundation I'm so grateful for. But I'd say like some of my biggest biggest banjo influences as I was learning and to this day are Jens Kruger. He's just amazing, and um, and he does a lot of that kind of classically oriented type playing, which I feel like comes out a little bit in my playing. And
For
then
sure.
um, Ron Block, which is very very different, but he's just got pretty much any banjo player that has their own thing. They're not trying to imitate anyone else. So I listen to Jens Kruger, Ron Block, Tony Furtado, who's not related to me in any way, but he's an incredible banjo player.
Yeah.
Listened to him all the time when I was learning and growing up. Um, who else? Mike Munford.
Oh,
He's amazing.
yeah.
Um, Rob McCurry. Yeah, pretty much. I listened to a lot of people, but I would say those are the ones that I listened to the most as I was learning, especially.
That's cool. That makes sense to me. Like that really does run through the gamut of what I hear when I listen to your albums, because you can drive. Like, man, you really have the right hand drive that I look for in traditional playing. But then you've got this delicate touch when you you sample from classical and even some swing stuff in your playing, and it's really cool.
Thank you.
Uh, you got another tune you could play for us?
Sure. I was thinking of doing a Scrubs tune.
Nice.
I love playing that like classical type stuff and pretty stuff, but I like to I love Scrubs style playing too and traditional bluegrass.
Are you? Is this in? Is this in C tuning?
Yes, drop C, not double
Okay.
C, but
Okay.
so this one's Farewell Blues.
Cool. Nice. I have a question here for you from somebody tuning in.
Yep.
Jake wants to know. He says, "It looks like you're playing Steve Martin's Bright Star musical. Have you had the chance to meet him?"
I have not had the chance to meet him. No, I haven't. I guess I will whenever that happens. It has been postponed. It was going to be, gosh, maybe like this week or something. But
Hmm.
yeah. So, no, I haven't met him. I got that gig through a mutual friend. So,
That's awesome. What a
yeah,
great gig
I
to
know. I
get.
was really looking forward to that. I just, yeah, I can't wait for that one to happen whenever it does.
Yeah. Uh, I have I have a question for you. What I think one of the cool things about you as a person, the little I know of you, is when I met you at IBMA last year, I complimented you on your playing, and your response was, "Thanks. I've worked really hard to get there." And it's funny is I my girlfriend's a banjo player, and she's a big fan of yours, and she heard you say something like that before, and I think that's a great response, because it's true. You don't get as good as you are without putting the time in.
Great.
So, do you have any sage advice for somebody who wants to become as proficient? That's not even the right word. As because somebody wants to become as good as you are at the banjo and have created their own sound, which you have done, which I think is the most elusive thing when you're playing an instrument is figuring out how to separate yourself from the crowd. So both
Right.
those things. How do you get as good as you, and how do you develop your own sound?
Well, I think like the piece of advice I would give to anyone learning is just to take it super slow. Don't try to like play through something really fast. Don't try to do more than you can do without each note sounding really good. So being meticulous about the quality of every note and
Mm.
timing and I would so much rather hear someone play something very simple with beautiful tone and good timing. Um, so take it really slow, be patient with yourself. And then as far as like coming up with your own style, I kind of have this belief that everybody has their own musical style and it's just a matter of trying to allow that to come out and what you have to do for that is to not try to imitate anybody. Just let your own musicality come out.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, imitating in the beginning is a really good way to learn. But at a certain point, you need to just do what you think sounds right and good, um, and don't worry about what you think that other people want to hear from you.
Yeah. Uh, I do want to mention that one of the things I did to kind of get ready for this was I listened to the Picky Fingers banjo podcast, the interview
Yeah,
with you. Keith Billick has a really wonderful podcast where he interviews the best banjo players in the world. And if you're a banjo player tuning in and listening here, I can't recommend that podcast enough. He has such a wonderful voice and really puts a lot of thought into the questions he asks. So make sure you check that out. It's just Picky Fingers Banjo Podcast. Uh, Gina, tell us about your banjo that you're holding right there.
oh, I love this banjo so much. It is built in the Czech Republic by Yarda Pruka. It's a Pruka banjo, and I only have had it since September. And he custom made it. Um, it's the Jason Burleson model. It's a lightweight model, so it has a tone ring. It's just like not as crazy heavy as other banjos. So that was like kind of my first attraction. Was just I needed something a little lighter. Um, Banjos are very heavy. For anyone out there who hasn't tried to lift one, they're crazy heavy. So yeah, so this one I had seen people I knew out playing them. Like Russ Carson has one like this. Who Russ Carson plays with Ricky Skaggs, and Jason Burleson of course has one. Mark Pruitt in Balsam Range has one, among many others. But I had the opportunity to see these guys, backstage and just asked if I could pick their banjos and totally fell in love with this model. And then this one is just exactly like Mark Pruitt's. I just said, whatever Mark did, do that, because that was like the perfect banjo. So, yeah, so I could not be happier. And as it ages and it's, getting broken in, it just sounds better all the time. Um, I know
Yeah,
I ran into you like the minute that I picked it up.
that was so cool. Like, a banjo nerd myself, I happened to walk by the Pruka booth at IBMA. IBMA is the International Bluegrass Music Association's annual event in Raleigh, North Carolina. It's this kind of magical place for bluegrass lovers where you go on the show floor and every brand and band that you love has a booth and you get to try instruments and stuff. And I walked by the Pruka booth and I literally like looked at you as he handed you the banjo, and your face was just like on fire, and it was just this beautiful moment. And like I'm really glad I got to see that, and now to see it right here, it's just super cool, and to hear it, it's lighter, but man, is it not any less loud than any banjo I've ever heard.
No, no, it's got the full like deep tones that, I've played other lightweight banjos that they're lighter and that's the positive, but they do lack something because without that tone ring, it just loses something. But yeah, this thing is totally amazing. It's so responsive and couldn't be happier.
Cool.
But yeah, I did feel a little dorky when I saw you there. I'm just like, there's banjo.
But
I know you
love
got
those.
it.
Oh, God. I ran into, it's funny, I was going to bring this up. Bishline has a banjo, a Danny Barnes model banjo that's similar to that. Like
Okay.
it weighs half of what you're used to a banjo weighing, and it's still ridiculously loud. But I ran into Danny Barnes a couple years at IBMA, and he had just won the Steve Martin Award,
Okay.
and he took that money and bought a pre-war, and
Wow.
so I'm sorry, folks. A pre-war is a pre-war banjo made by Gibson before World War II. They made banjos that they've never been able to make again. There's a lot of theories of why, but there's only a set amount of them, and they are worth between $20,000 and $50,000, and they are the holy grail of banjos. And I ran into him right after he bought it, right on the side of the street in Nashville, and he was just like, you know, Ben, look what I got, and he like put it on the ground and opened it up and pulled it out and played it for me on this busy intersection in the middle of Nashville. And
Oh, that's awesome.
your heart just explodes when you see those moments, because we have those moments as a musician who's passionate about what we do, and like to share it with another one is really special.
Right.
There are some fantastic questions coming in here. So for those who aren't from John Zielinski, for those of us who aren't banjo players, what is drop C tuning, and why is it different to double C tuning?
Okay, for drop C tuning, the fourth string is dropped down to C, where usually it should be here in D. For double C tuning, you would take the second string, which is usually a B, and bring it up to C. So you've got two of the strings are tuned to C. And I love that tuning. I think it's just super beautiful. So to me, it just has a more old-timey and like kind of a prettier sound to it.
Yeah, absolutely. How? So someone here also asked in relation to that. Would you demonstrate how you made that claw hammer sound you did on the Picky Fingers podcast?
Sure.
Why don't
We're
you?
in double C, so that's perfect.
Yeah, Can you pull the camera down so we can see your right hand a little bit?
Oh, sure. How's that?
Yeah, perfect.
So I like to occasionally throw in like an actual claw, like using these fingers. So for that, I just strummed it with these, with like my ring finger of the left hand, fourth finger. And then I can still use my picks to do like the three finger scrub style stuff. I love claw hammer banjo, so, I love being able to kind of get a little bit of that sound. But then if I wanted to get that, I think what I demonstrated on Picky Fingers is I'll do stuff like... if you do, like, I'm doing I'm naming the numbers of the strings. 1 is the one closest to the floor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So a roll would be like 2, 5, 1, 2, 5, 1. So it has like a similar sound to like what they call the bum ditties on clawhammer. I can't really do them, especially wearing tape. But yeah, it's like this very, very signature clawhammer technique that I tried to kind of emulate. And one way or the other, whatever string you choose to have as your center string, I just did 2 5 1 2 5 1. You can do 4 or 3 or whatever and build your melody line off of that.
Wow, you just blew my mind. Did you come up with that on your own?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, just trying to kind of get some of that clawhammer beautiful sound because I love it.
It's funny. I mean, we talked the other day in preparation for this, and I asked you if you played any clawhammer, and you were like, not really. And then I was listening to your album, and I thought, geez, that sounds like clawhammer. I wonder who she brought in to do that. So it's a very effective emulation of it because I thought it was clawhammer and figured it wasn't you because you emphatically said that you did not play clawhammer.
Well, I'm just faking it. I'm just trying to get by. I don't know if you know my brother Victor Furtado.
Mm-hmm.
He just got the Steve Martin Award for banjo, and he's an amazing clawhammer player.
Yeah.
And years ago, I mean, he must have been like 10 years old. I tried to get him to teach me how to play clawhammer banjo, and he gave it like 5 minutes. He's like, ah, you can't do it. So I kind of, yeah. So I like this technique though. It works, and I like that I can easily go right back into finger picking.
Yeah, it's the exact opposite of that clawgrass technique.
Yeah.
Where Mark Johnson plays clawhammer and emulates three finger style.
Exactly. Yeah.
But so you got to come up with a cool name for it.
Yeah. Well, I'm open to suggestions.
I mean, I'm serious. Like I could see you coming up with a book even to demonstrate that. It's something I'm definitely going to experiment with this afternoon. That's really cool.
Cool. Well, I teach a lot of these like banjo camps and things. And a few times I've tried giving a class on that thing, and people really do love it. It like people seem to really enjoy it. But of course, the camp directors are like, I don't know, it's a little weird. So,
Yeah, but
yeah, I think it's so much fun, and it's so pretty, and it's easy. So
it's beautiful. I'm really impressed. I got another great question here from Bud Bennett. Speaking of your sound, can you talk about your right thumb? Every time I watch you play, I watch your right thumb and how you bend it sometimes when you play. Is this a conscious thing to change the sound? I've never seen anybody else do this.
Oh, good question. And hi, Bud. I'm glad he's here. He does this amazing series, the Radford interviews for banjo players.
Oh, okay.
So,
I need to check
amazing.
those out
You
too.
should check it out.
Okay.
And the question about the thumb, like, it's generally considered, the proper technique to keep your thumb straight and hit the string like flat on with the broadest part of the pick for tone. But I do like to angle it sometimes, like when I do that clawhammer style thing. So I'm kind of angling it in. I don't know how well anyone can see that. And it just gets a completely different kind of sound. It's almost like it's a little raspy, which I guess to my ear, even though this is not something I sat and thought about, it just kind of happened as I was striving to get a sound that I wanted to get. It has that raspy sound, which I guess sounds a little more like a fingernail, like you would get with the clawhammer.
Right.
So I do like to, I do that intentionally, and I'll just kind of switch in and out of that depending on what sound I want to get for that particular note. So.
Well, I appreciate you demonstrating that. We're running out of time here. I do have another question here that's pretty broad and general. If you could give it. Julia Leno asked, "What's your most important tips for those that are trying to learn the banjo?" Which you kind of covered a little bit, but if you got another morsel, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. Well, okay. One of the first things you've got to do is just listen to what you want to sound like a lot. Like find a few, I definitely would suggest, stick to like the classics, pick Earl Scruggs and J.D. Crowe and, and listen to their music nonstop so that like the format of bluegrass music and, the roll patterns on the banjo. You learn these things by listening without having to actually be able to do it on the banjo. So listen a lot, and then again, I'll just reiterate what I said before about just taking it super slow and don't rush ahead to get more in. Try to get really good tone, really good timing, really good technique, and you know, grow from there. But don't try to play more. Just try to get solid stuff first.
That's great. Great advice. So I want to remind people that tomorrow at the same time at 11 a.m. Central, 12 p.m. Eastern, we're going to do another one of these that's much more geared towards kids. And I'm really looking forward to it because I know you've got kids and you're going to bring them along for at least some of it.
Oh,
And
yeah.
and we've learned in the past couple of weeks that's really valuable to have kids there. So it's not going to be as nerdy as this, but it'll be just as much fun, if not more. So I can't encourage people enough to go to GinaFurtadoBanjo.com and pick up her albums. Reach out to her if you want lessons. I think you can tell just by the way she talks about what she's doing that she's an amazing teacher. And this is the time that we should all be supporting artists because none of us are able to work right now. And so please check her stuff out. Obviously, you can stream everything on everything from YouTube to Spotify. But that being said, if you liked what you heard today, buy her album off her website. And make sure you go to the Gina Furtado Project and like it on all the social medias. She has a really cool. I love the cover art on your most recent album. I don't know who did that, but it's really beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, that was someone the label found. So
Yeah.
who they are.
Who's the label?
Oh, it's Mountain Home,
Cool.
out
That's
in
cool.
Asheville, North
That's
Carolina.
great. Right on. Well, folks, make sure you check out bluegrassambassadors.org. There's more information on the Academy there. And if you want to help us out, paypal.me/bluegrassambassadors or go to our Patreon. While we were doing this today, I realized I think one of the things I'm going to do on your Patreon post is post some examples of those banjo players that you listed.
Yeah.
And let people come to the same conclusion that I did, which is, of course, those were your influences because it at least contributed to your sound somewhat.
Mm-hmm.
Gina, I can't thank you enough for your time. You're a real inspiration to me, and I think a lot of banjo players. So,
Thank you. Thanks for
yeah,
having me. I appreciate it.
yeah,
It's been fun.
yeah.
And
Let's.
looking forward to tomorrow, too.
Me too. Let's do this tomorrow, folks. Join us tomorrow. There's a Facebook event called Bluegrass Ambassadors Academy Junior with Gina Furtado. I'll be posting it on all of our social media stuff over the next 24 hours. Invite your friends, especially ones that have kids and need stuff for them to do because so far the kids session has been really successful. Thank you, Gina. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll see you all tomorrow.
All right. Bye.
Bye.